Steffi Forrester's world finally collapses under the weight of a secret she has carried for years, and before leaving Los Angeles for good, she makes a devastating confession to Finn that changes everything they believed about their family. Because in a tear-filled moment behind closed doors, Steffi admits that Hayes is not Finn's biological son. A truth that shatters Finn's heart and forces Steffi to confront the consequences of her past choices, as she explains that during one of the darkest and most confusing periods of her life, when she was terrified, alone, and convinced she might lose everything, she made a mistake that would come back to haunt her in ways she never imagined, revealing that the father of Hayes is someone from her past whose name still sends chills through her. A revelation that leaves Finn stunned and struggling to breathe as the ground beneath him disappears, and every memory of holding Hayes, teaching him to walk, and promising to protect him suddenly feels fragile and painfully complicated. Because while Finn's love for Hayes is real and unconditional, the betrayal he feels from Steffi cuts deeper than anything Sheila ever did, as he questions how the woman he trusted with his life could keep such a massive secret for so long. And Steffi breaks down completely as she tells him she was terrified of losing him, terrified of tearing apart their family, and terrified that the truth would destroy the stability she fought so hard to create after years of chaos. Explaining that she convinced herself that biology didn't matter because Finn was Hayes' father in every way that counted. But now, with everything unraveling around them and danger closing in from all sides, she can no longer live with the lie. Especially knowing she's about to leave Los Angeles and doesn't know when or if she'll ever return. And Finn listens in silence as she explains that the night Hayes was conceived was filled with fear, confusion, and a sense of vulnerability she never allowed herself to acknowledge publicly. And while she refuses at first to name the biological father, her tears and hesitation tell Finn everything he needs to know. Because the past always finds a way to resurface in this family, and Finn realizes this secret is tied to the very forces that have haunted Steffi for years, making him wonder whether Hayes' existence has unknowingly connected them to yet another dangerous legacy. And as the truth settles in, Finn's eyes fill with a mixture of heartbreak and disbelief as he asks the question Steffi has dreaded most, whether she ever planned to tell him, or if he would have lived his entire life believing a lie. And Steffi's silence answers him before her words do, as she admits she planned to take this secret to her grave, to protect him, to protect Hayes, and to protect herself from the judgment and fallout she knew would follow. And Finn's pain turns to quiet devastation as he struggles to reconcile the woman standing in front of him with the partner he thought he knew, while Steffi insists through sobs that her love for him was always real, that every moment they shared as a family was genuine, and that nothing about their bond was fake even if the foundation was flawed. And Finn finally speaks, his voice shaking as he tells her that love without honesty is a fragile thing, and that while he will never stop loving Hayes, the betrayal he feels towards Steffi is something he doesn't know how to overcome. Especially now as she prepares to leave LA, which feels less like a temporary escape and more like a permanent goodbye. And Steffi admits that leaving is the only way she knows how to protect Hayes from the chaos and danger that surrounds them, especially with old enemies resurfacing and secrets threatening to explode. And Finn realizes that this confession is not just about the past, but about the future they may never share. As Steffi explains, she cannot stay and watch him struggle with resentment every time he looks at her or question his place in Hayes' life. So she believes distance is the only solution. A decision that devastates Finn because despite his pain, he cannot imagine his life without Hayes' laughter or Steffi's presence. And yet he feels powerless to stop her because the damage has already been done. And as word of Steffi's departure begins to ripple through the Forrester family, Brooke senses something is terribly wrong and presses Finn for answers, only to be stunned when she learns the truth about Hayes' paternity. Realizing that this secret has the potential to tear apart not just one family, but generations of fragile relationships. And Ridge is blindsided as well, torn between his instinct to protect his daughter and his anger that she would keep such a monumental truth hidden. While Taylor struggles with guilt, wondering whether she failed Steffi as a mother by not seeing the signs of her fear and desperation years ago, and as speculation spreads through Los Angeles, the pressure mounts on Finn who finds himself questioning his identity as a father and wondering whether he has the right to continue calling Hayes his son once the truth inevitably comes out. And Steffy's final days in LA are filled with painful goodbyes, silent glances, and moments where she almost changes her mind. Especially when she watches Finn and Hayes together and sees the undeniable bond between them, a bond that biology can't erase, yet she knows that. Staying would mean living in the shadow of a lie that has finally been exposed, and in a heartbreaking final moment before she leaves, Finn confronts Steffy one last time, telling her that no matter what the DNA says, he will always be Hayes' father. But he doesn't know if he can ever fully forgive her for taking away his right to choose the truth, and Steffy, with tears streaming down her face, tells him that loving him was the best thing that ever happened to her and losing him will be the punishment she carries for the rest of her life. And as Steffy drives away from Los Angeles with Hayes asleep in the back seat, the weight of her confession hangs over everyone she leaves behind, setting the stage for explosive revelations, unexpected returns, and a future where Finn must decide whether love is stronger than betrayal and whether a father is defined by blood or by the heart. While the truth about Hayes' biological father threatens to surface at any moment, promising that this shocking confession is only the beginning of a storyline that will forever change the bold and the beautiful landscape. As Steffy's car disappears down the highway and Los Angeles fades behind her, the shock waves of her confession continue to ripple outward, leaving Finn standing in the doorway of the life he thought he understood, replaying every moment he ever shared with Hayes and realizing that while nothing about his love was a lie, everything about the truth was painfully incomplete. And in the days that follow Steffy's departure, he struggles to maintain a sense of normalcy at the hospital, burying himself. In work, as patients and colleagues notice the haunted look in his eyes, because every quiet moment allows the questions to creep in, questions about whether Hayes will grow up resenting him once the truth comes out, whether Steffy will ever forgive herself enough to come home, and whether the man who shares Hayes' blood will eventually demand a place in the boy's life, a possibility that terrifies Finn more than he's willing to admit, especially as whispers spread that this biological father is not a random figure from Steffy's past, but someone with deep roots in the Forrester and Spencer orbit, someone whose return could ignite chaos all over again. And as Finn confides in Lee, her reaction is icy and brutally honest, reminding him that secrets always destroy families and warning him that this revelation could expose Hayes to danger, manipulation, and power struggles that no child should ever endure, which only fuels Finn's determination to protect Hayes at all costs, even if it means standing against Steffy one day. And meanwhile, Brooke and Ridge clash over how to handle the fallout, with Brooke urging compassion for Steffy's fear and desperation, while Ridge struggles with anger, not just at his daughter, but at himself for failing to see the cracks in her armor, haunted by the realization that his family's history of betrayal and secrecy may have paved the way for Steffy's choices, and Taylor, consumed by guilt, reaches out to Steffy repeatedly only to be met with silence, fearing that distance will harden into permanent separation. And as the truth inches closer to becoming public knowledge, speculation runs rampant about Hayes' paternity, forcing Finn to confront the reality that he may soon have to share Hayes with another man or fight to keep his place in the child's life. And far away from LA, Steffy struggles with her own demons as she watches Hayes play innocently, his laughter a constant reminder of the cost of her choices, questioning whether leaving was an act of protection or cowardice. And every time her phone buzzes, she hopes it's Finn telling her he forgives her and wants her to come home. But the silence only deepens her resolve to stay away until the storm settles, even as flashbacks haunt her of the night that changed everything. The fear, the vulnerability, and the moment she realized she had crossed a line she could never uncross. And back in Los Angeles, the secret finally threatens to explode when someone uncovers evidence that connects Hayes' biological father to a powerful legacy, sending shockwaves through the Forrester family and reigniting old rivalries. As Finn is forced to confront this man face to face, a confrontation filled with restrained fury and raw emotion, as Finn makes it clear that blood does not grant instant fatherhood, and that Hayes already has a dad who has loved him since birth. Yet the biological father refuses to back down, insisting on his rights and hinting that Steffy's silence robbed him of the chance to know his son. a claim that cuts Finn deeply because it mirrors his own pain, and as legal threats loom and custody questions arise, Finn realizes that Steffy's confession was not the end of the nightmare, but the beginning of a battle that could reshape Hayes' future forever. And when Steffy finally learns how quickly things have spiraled out of control, she is consumed by regret, realizing that running away may have left Finn alone to face the consequences she helped create, forcing her to make a heartbreaking decision about whether to return to LA and face the fallout head-on or remain in hiding to shield Hayes from further trauma. And as emotions reach a boiling point, Finn is forced to testify about his role in Hayes' life, recounting sleepless nights, first steps, and whispered promises, proving that fatherhood is built through devotion rather than DNA. A testimony that moves everyone present and underscores the central question haunting them all: whether love can outweigh betrayal, and whether a family can survive when its foundation is shaken to the core. And as the battle intensifies, old enemies resurface, alliances shift, and secrets once buried threaten to emerge. Because in this world, no truth exists in isolation, and every revelation opens the door to another. And as Steffy watches from afar, she realizes that the only way to protect Hayes and honor Finn's love may be to return and face the consequences she feared most, setting the stage for an explosive reunion where forgiveness, anger, and unresolved love collide, promising that the story of Hayes' paternity will redefine what it means to be a family on the bold and the beautiful, and prove once again that in this town, the truth always comes at a devastating cost. The tension in Los Angeles escalates as Steffy's absence becomes a tangible void in the lives of everyone who loves her, especially Finn, who finds himself navigating each day with a sense of hollow uncertainty, haunted by the memory of her confession and the impossibility of returning to the life they once shared. As he struggles to maintain the balance between being a devoted father to Hayes and managing the swelling storm of emotions that threaten to consume him and every interaction with. The child is colored by the knowledge that Hayes does not know the full truth, that his innocence is fragile and could be shattered in an instant, while Finn desperately hopes that Steffy's decision to leave will shield Hayes from the chaos that seems to follow the Forrester family like a shadow, even as the city buzzes with rumors and gossip that only make matters worse. Whispers of hidden parentage and secret alliances reaching ears that were never meant to hear them, forcing Finn into a corner where he must fight not only for his right to be Hayes' father, but also to protect him from anyone who might exploit the secret for power, leverage, or revenge. And Ridge, struggling with the duality of fatherly concern and rage at Steffy's deception, becomes increasingly protective yet unpredictable, alternately offering counsel and lashing out at anyone who questions his loyalty or judgment, while Brooke, embodying a mix of compassion and pragmatism, serves as a voice of reason, urging patience, empathy, and understanding, trying desperately to remind Finn that Hayes is still the same child who looks at him with trust and love, unaware that the world around him is poised to upend everything he knows. And Taylor, burdened with guilt and regret, becomes a quiet presence behind the scenes, writing letters, making calls, and scheming to create a path toward reconciliation between Steffy, Finn, and Hayes, all the while knowing that her daughter's absence has created a vacuum that could be filled by forces more dangerous than she ever imagined. While the biological father's looming presence is a constant reminder that the past cannot be erased, that every choice Steffy made, every lie she believed protected her family, now threatens to define their future, and as the tension mounts, Finn's sleepless nights grow longer, haunted by questions of morality, loyalty, and the true meaning of fatherhood, wondering whether Hayes will one day reject him for secrets he never wanted, for truths he was never told. And as he wrestles with these fears, he begins to notice subtle changes in Hayes' behavior, moments of confusion or sadness that seem to echo the unspoken reality surrounding his life, fueling Finn's determination to remain a stable force in his son's world, to provide the love and consistency that Steffy tried to protect with her departure. Even if it means enduring personal heartbreak in silence, and far from Los Angeles, Steffy herself confronts her own inner turmoil, reflecting on the choice to leave and realizing that distance cannot erase the love she feels for both Finn and Hayes, and that her absence, while protective in intention, may ultimately be a selfish act that leaves Finn to navigate storms she helped create, and each night she watches Hayes sleep, torn between the instinct to reach out, to return, and the fear of shattering the fragile balance she has left behind. Knowing that every step she takes toward reconciliation carries both hope and danger, because the biological father's growing interest in Hayes signals not only a legal threat, but an emotional and psychological one that could unmoor the child from the security Finn has fought to maintain. And as the narrative of their lives continues to unfold, Finn is faced with choices that test the very limits of his character, as he must navigate not only his own grief and betrayal, but also the demands of a family, a city, and a child who depends on him to remain unbroken. And the legal machinations around Hayes' parentage intensify when the biological father's lawyer formally notifies Finn of intent to seek visitation rights, throwing Finn into a whirlwind of consultations, strategy meetings, and late-night planning sessions, each decision fraught with moral complexity and emotional consequence. And through it all, Finn's unwavering commitment to Hayes becomes both his anchor and his crucible, proving that love, in its purest form, is not dictated by DNA, but by presence, devotion, and sacrifice. Even as the Forrester family watches from the sidelines, divided between outrage, empathy, and concern, and as Steffy begins to grapple with the repercussions of her confession, she finally makes the decision to return to Los Angeles, knowing that hiding cannot solve the problem, and that only by facing Finn, Hayes, and her family can she hope to begin the long process of healing and redemption. And her journey back is fraught with emotion, as each mile reminds her of the life she left behind, the heartbreak she caused, and the courage she must summon to confront those she loves most, while Finn, oblivious to her imminent return, continues to fortify the life he has built for Hayes, teaching him, guiding him, loving him with a fierce intensity born of both joy and desperation. Even as every call unanswered and every door left unopened reminds him of Steffy's absence and the magnitude of the choices that led them here. And when the day finally comes that Steffy steps through the door, the air is thick with tension, silence, and the weight of years of secrets, as Finn turns to face her. The sight of her immediately reigniting the cascade of emotions he has worked so hard to control, from anger to relief, from longing to disbelief, while Hayes, sensing the tension yet too young to understand it fully, clings to Finn, the unspoken bond between father and son a visible testament to the life that continues despite betrayal. And in that charged moment, Steffy takes a tentative step forward, her voice trembling as she speaks the words she has rehearsed countless times, yet knows will never be enough to undo the pain she caused, admitting her fear, her regret, and her enduring love for both Finn and Hayes. And Finn, though overwhelmed, listens, his heart caught between the desire to forgive and the sting of the deception that has haunted them all. And as they stand in that living room, the Forrester family assembled quietly around them, the air crackling with anticipation, judgment, and hope, it becomes clear that the story of Hayes' paternity, while a source of strife and heartbreak, is also a story of resilience, love, and the extraordinary lengths one goes to protect the people who matter most. And in the days, weeks, and months that follow, the family must navigate a labyrinth of emotion, legal wrangling, public speculation, and personal growth, testing the boundaries of forgiveness, the power of love, and the enduring truth that families are not always defined by blood alone, but by the bonds that survive even the darkest secrets. And as Steffy reintegrates into their lives, the challenges continue. From rebuilding trust with Finn to managing Hayes' understanding of his identity, to confronting the biological father's growing involvement, and every step is a reminder that the past cannot simply be erased, only acknowledged, learned from, and woven into the future with care, patience, and courage, because in Los Angeles, in the world of the Forresters, secrets, love, and betrayal are never-ending. And the revelation of Hayes' true parentage has set into motion a chain of events that will ripple through generations, challenging relationships, igniting passion, and redefining what it truly means to be a family on the bold and the beautiful.